Yo, what's up folks? Welcome back to the channel. Kimor here. In today's video we'll have a little bit of a locals report, a deck profile, which is kind of the final send-off for White Forest Azamina pre-Allegiance Insight, and we kind of discuss where we are with Yu-Gi-Oh right now. You've probably noticed lately I haven't uploaded much to the channel because I was busy starting a new job, had to kind of get used to that and to a new workload, which is very exciting and very good for me. Also, I've been on vacation. I spent some time in Brazil, which was very good, and had a good time there overall, but came back last Friday and went to locals. The last Saturday, which was like the second last locals for me pre-Allegiance Insight, and I was super jet lagged after over 22 hours of travel, and started deck building at 3 in the morning because I thought like, oh, I can improve this. Even though I've been out of the loop for a little bit, for like 2-3 weeks, we haven't really touched cards much because I've been very busy. So it went, as you can imagine, we played 4 rounds and I got beat 0-2 3 times. I completely shit the bed. It was not a good time, even though it was fun seeing my boys and just being back to locals after a little bit of a hiatus for 2-3 weeks. So that was very nice. But we got our cheeks clapped drastically, which was not that fun, but still was a good time regardless. And Tuesday, so as the time of this recording, yesterday was my final chance to redeem myself, and I did. I went to locals. It was a mini locals, not a lot of people showed up, still went 3-0. Some of our best players was there, so that was kind of nice. And went 3-0 undefeated, had a good time, and I changed some things about the deck again. Went a little bit smarter with my deck building, I think, and I'll show you what I changed in just a second. For the main deck, we're running 45 cards, and I won't explain every card that I'm running or every decision, simply because a lot of goes back to the deck profiles I showed you before. A lot of it's just standard White Forest stuff, a lot of the ratios, which makes sense. Best example for that is our true starters, which are LZ, of course an obvious 3-off, and Sylvie, which will stay the same post-Allegiance Insight as well. These are your best starters to run, and absolutely you should run those at 3 copies. Very important cards. I'm running 1 Azamina LZ of the White Forest, and LZ Azamina of the White Forest, 1 Rushia of the White Forest, 1 Tails. In the pure variant, you could bump up LZ Azamina and Tails to 2. We're running 1 Sinful Sports of the White Forest, which I think is a very good interruption, and going second, even a decent way to play through targeting interruption, and 1 Woes. And this is one I will comment on more specifically, because I think we're going into a format that will be very draw heavy, simply because the new Mitsurugi support is absolutely cracked. Either Mitsurugi as a pure deck or Mitsurugi Raziel will be absolute bonkers cards, or absolute bonkers decks that you will encounter a lot. The only real way to beat those decks is draw, which of course is very bad for us because White Force completely dice draw. For example, very standard line, you normal summon Sylvie, grab your Tails, and you can draw your Kirk. Post sighting, at least, I think you should attempt to grab Woes, especially if you have something like the LZ Azamina in the hand already, or an LZ, so you can extend if you don't get draw, but if you get draw, you at least want to have some interruption in the form of the Woes, which I think is strictly better than Aphis. I think you should not run Aphis except for you decide to run both traps. But if you just run 1, which I think you should do, Woes is strictly better because it doesn't lose to draw. Aphis only works if you go full combo. If you get trolled, you will never go full combo with this deck. It's that simple. You need to search cards. You search a bunch. On Saturday, I cut down on starters again. As you can see, I don't run the Estella because I hate to draw that card, and I usually only draw it when I already have other starters in hand. And then, sure, it's an extender if you send it, for example, for Deception, and then send a spell trap card afterwards, but damn, that card sucks. So I completely cut it. I hate it. It's stuck to my hand when I don't need it, and I never draw it when I need a starter. So for me, it was an easy decision, and I think a starter that is strictly better is their Bielster. First of all, you can't Ash this card. Estella loses to Imperm Veiler and Ash. Diabolster at least only to Impermanent Veiler, of course Mourner as well, but people really don't run Mourner because this card sets, so it doesn't lose control right away as well. Of course, we can search it with our 3-off, the Wanted. We're playing the Deception. hallowed Azamina, which are absolute engine requirements, and one card that I've been on and off putting in, but I think right now it's very important, which is the simple Spoils of Slumber Morian, which of course also plays through draw, because you set this and boom, you have an interruption, the Book of Moon. You can send this for your white forest effects as well, so I think it's a very smart card to run right now. And I had this coming up this weekend. Open a hand with Sylvie, LZ Azamina, Wanted, Tracked, and I don't remember the fifth card, might have been some hand trap. And almost summoned the Sylvie and grabbed the Woes because I expected to be drolled, and I had the LZ Azamina to extend into the RCL anyways, so I didn't need to grab Tails to go into LZ, which was very good. And I got drolled. Chained the Wanted to grab Witch, sent the Track because I didn't want to completely lose to draw by playing Track first. Which sent me the Morian, and I special summoned the Azamina LZ, and with Sylvie and Diabelson went into full Fiendsmith combo into Caesar and set up Lacrima of Requiem in the graveyard on the opponent's turn. So we had 5 interruptions in total with doubles, or 2 times Caesar, Woes, the Morian, and the Lacrima and Requiem in Grave, setting up Fiendsmith in Paradise. Which brings us to our next engine, that is the Fiendsmith engine, of course. We're now running 3 engravers since Engraver has been budgeted. You can run this at 2 as well. It's, I think, absolutely fine, especially if you aim to play 40 cards. But even the 3 came up once this weekend, so it's not completely bad to run that in my opinion. And you want to see this as an opener into the engine sometimes as well. So playing Lacrima, 1 Lurie, absolute engine requirements, especially since we're playing Tracked. And we're playing the Fiendsmith in Paradise, which, since I changed the extra deck up, we're not just running Desiree as a target to go Fiendsmith combo. I think Fiendsmith in Paradise is very important because you'll use the Desiree in a different form, which I'll show you after going into the non-engine part. This is the engine requirements. I think this is in total 27 cards. We're running 45 in total, so we have 18 non-engine slots. So let's get right into that. The non-engine in this deck has changed up a little bit, simply because Talents and Crossout got hit to 1 on this ban list. What I'm doing currently is running 1 Call By, 1 Crossout, and then 1 Talents to play through interruptions. Of course, Call By and Crossout to counter cards like Draw, or sometimes you need to Call By an Ash or whatever. And then Talents to usually rip a hand trap out of your opponent's hand, or some engine if they just have 1 hand trap. Crossout I think is very main deckable right now. Before at 3 I never liked this card, but if it comes up, it's an absolute blowout. I hate to play against this card, so I'm very happy that Konami hit it on the ban list. I think we could have even gone to 0. But these 2 are especially important against Droll, because Droll completely cooks this deck. With Talents you can at least maybe rip out the engine of your opponent's hand, so maybe they can play, or maybe the other hand trap if you have Extendus like I explained earlier, where you can set up some interruptions through Droll. So I think these are very smart non-engine choices. We're also running 15 hand traps in total. I'm running 2 Fuvas and a Veiler, which as soon as I pick up the 3rd Fuva, when my mail comes, this will of course be 3 Fuva, but right now it's 2 Fuva and a Veiler. I'm just cutting Veiler down to 1. I think 1 will be enough in this current format. It's one of the more fair hand traps. Of course, also playing 3 Ash. Very standard hand trap, playing 3 Droll, which I think is super good right now. Sometimes this feels very bad against very specific decks, which I think comes up more at locals than at bigger events. But let's say you're playing against Okrus, they maybe search once, you draw them, and they just keep playing in the graveyard. And a lot of decks can be like this, but against other decks this is an absolute blowout. You can of course cut this, play something like 3 Veiler, or even put in 3 Perulia and exchange it for that, or maybe Bestials, but I like to run this card right now. Same is true for Nibiru. This card can also be specific against certain decks that doesn't do a whole bunch. Malice will be very much able to play through it. Fiendsmith decks of course set up Caesar very early, usually, especially open with Fiendsmith cards, so they play through it. Unless you pair it with another hand trap, like for example Emperor, which is our final hand trap, and that completes our main deck with 45 cards. You can always switch these around. As I said, Veiler should be a Fuva. I'm just waiting for my mail, and that completes the main deck. The extra deck has been switched up quite a bunch lately. But some things are always true, and that is that we're playing the one Silvera, sorry, the one Arciella, the Diabolic, of the White Forest, as a White Forest Synchros, and this will change heavily with Legion's Insight because Diabolic Vengeance can special the new Poplar. You can go into the new Snake Eyes level 12 Synchro, will be very good. But for now, our final Synchro is Chaos Angel, which is very potent in this deck. Comes up quite often. It's a very good card to go into. Some decks just outright can't beat this unless they draw the Imperm, which they have to set up first on their turn, and maybe they don't even survive your next turn. So this is very good. Then we're playing the Ilia Silva, and of course the Mu Arcilago as our Azamina cards, and I still opt to play Guardian Chimera. The final card in this little White Forest Azamina package is the Magister Shirozo. I already said I'm going to play this because it just allows you to switch from one engine to the other. In your main combo, you can just go White Forest to Azamina, or Sinful Spoils rather, and then into Azamina. But with Shirozo, you can go the other way around if you open Wanted or Witch, so I think this one is very nice. We're playing Fiendsmith stuff, as I said, so of course, playing the Moon, Requiem, Sequence, and the final card you really need is Desiree. But I also opted to play the Necrocrypt Princess, which means we're on Caesar, which is the card I usually summon first, and if I think I can play through draw, or I don't expect my opponent to draw me, I will go Engraver into Tract and then set up Caesar first. Because the broken thing about Caesar is that it, of course, negates cards that special summon. And it can do that twice, and it also destroys. So it's one more interruption than Desiree alone, but it also allows you to set up the Lacrima with Requiem Engrave. So you have Fiendsmith in Paradise access on the opponent's turn, which allows to send you the Desiree, shuffle back the Requiem, and send the card from the field to the graveyard. So that's already 3 interruptions compared to just 1, which is very good. It makes you nip-proof. If they maybe hold it too long, if they say, we have an Imperm, I wait for the end of the turn, and you end on Ilia Silva, or maybe even on my final card, SP, you can dodge that. You'll be fine. It's very good. So nip isn't always a big issue for this deck, which is very nice, I think. On a final note about the Fiendsmith package, I have not run Caesar much before. I think only in one tournament where I didn't really summon it much. I usually went into Desiree, and a reason for that is that I didn't have many engravers, so I couldn't start with the Fiendsmith engine. I just started with the White Forest stuff, and then throughout my combo went into the Fiendsmith cards, the Moon of the Close 7. And if you can run Fiendsmith as a bigger engine with 3 engravers, maybe multiple tract, or you have Lacrima as a normal summon, I think that Caesar is strictly better. As I said, it's more interruptions, and it doesn't lose to nip, which I think is very good. This card, in my opinion, either of the two should have been banned on the ban list, because Desiree comparatively, of course, negates are always tough, because it's an Omni on-field negate, which Caesar doesn't negate every card, just specific cards that special summon. But this card is so unfair, especially in the combo, since you can send one more interruption that is in your graveyard, so very layered. So I think, yeah, this is just a little note on that. One thing I forgot to mention during the deck profile is why the Fiendsmith cards are so good with the White Forest cards. And that is very simply because the link monsters, if they're equipped to one of your monsters, are treated as equip spells. So your spells, even though they're monster cards, they're spells in the spell trap zone, which means you can use them to send for LZ, for example, for Rushia, for your Arciella. They're additional materials sometimes to send for a Diabolsta. And a neat little interaction that comes up is the Contact Fusion to Shirozo. The materials for the fusion says monsters, so XYZ, Synchro, Link, and Fusion monsters. But if you go down to the text and see how you can Contact Fuse it, it requires a monster card, which means you can, for example, use a Requiem in the spell trap zone, and one of your spellcasters, Sylvie, Arciella, Diabolsta, and so on, to fuse into Shirozo, to Contact Fuse into Shirozo, which is very handy. So there's an additional synergy on top of the Fiendsmith engine just being a very good engine to play. If we played in Legion's Insight, I don't know yet, because The engine requirements to go full White Force combo go up, and they're very good, but that also means you have less space in the main deck. Maybe you reduce the non-engine, but that of course is always risky as well, because you want to stop your opponent from going full crazy. So we'll have to see how we figure that out. For the side deck, I'm back on 3 Artifact Lancia. This one is very good against Malice, obviously. It will still be good against Malice because they can only really play through it if they have a good hand. So this should still be in your side deck, and it's very good against Crystron. In the future it will be good against Orchrist, so it's a very nice card to run still regardless. It comes up against random stuff like Melodious. Was running 3 Dark Ruler no more. Good board breaker overall. I really like this card. Have it in a nice Lost Art with the horns. Very cool. We're running 2 Lightning Storm, 1 Duster, the back row Hate. Very good cards in my opinion. There's a final spell card. As a new addition, the Simple Spoils of Subversion, Snake Eyes. This one is very good because it places cards in the spell trap zone, and what you can do into Ryziel at least is special summon Diabellstar, set this, and this trades very well into Detonator, because if they can't, for example, revive it with the Eclipse Twins, you put it in the spell trap zone, and unless they run something like Droplet, they can never access it again. So it's a very good card in my opinion, and it's a very easy searchable board breaker in this deck, so it's nice, even though it didn't come up once. Running 3 Solemn Judgment, one of the best side deck cards right now. Plays through all of these board breakers. Engage summons, especially good against extra deck monsters because they're not considered properly summoned anymore. This is good against the Malice Link monsters. Fire format, this was very good against Promethean Princess, all those cards. Very good card. Of course bad into time, but still very good. Won me 2 matches on locals today, locals yesterday as well, so very good. Skill Drain, nice Platinum Secret Rare. And my Portuguese Anti-Spell Fragrance. Sadly couldn't flip this once, but these are very good still. Obviously Floodgates, if you can pull them off, they're very good. And we can play through them very easily with White Force because we can out them ourselves. So in my view, very good additions to the deck to run. That is it for the deck profile. This, as I said before, is the final list pre-Allegiance Inside. The format will change a lot. Malice will be very good, Mitsurugi will be very good, we get new Life Twin support, new Eldritch support, and so on. There's a lot of good decks in the format and a lot of good newer decks that will enter the format and will warp it dramatically. I think Ryziel will kind of fall out of favor. I think especially since a lot of people were just playing it because it was the best deck, not because it's a very fun deck. And I think it will just die down a lot unless people play it with the Mitsurugi engine. And this will, of course, with the new support and Allegiance Inside, drastically change White Force as well. So I will upload a new deck profile and probably some combo tutorials as soon as I got my hands on the new cards, and update you on how I evolve the deck. But this is the final list before we go into Allegiance Inside format. And yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.